Good afternoon, my dear Carolinians from Civil Engineering. Today we'll be having a spiritual talk on COVID 19, how we deal with it, how we can grow as persons, as Carolinians. The title of my sharing with you is God or Nothing Discipleship in Times of Pandemic. By the way, I am Father Diderick Macaire Andrinjatovo, or Father D, SVD, the chaplain of Talamban Campus USC. Why God or nothing? Because lately I've realized when people fight for survival, when people really value what life is, it makes more sense if we have God. Because if we don't have God in this life, we won't have Him in the next life. So if we have God now and in the next life, we have everything. God or nothing. Because we know life will end on this earth. And we will go to the other life eternally with God. So God or nothing, discipleship in times of pandemic. We've seen so many things already. We've stayed home and we are with our families, loved ones, and friends. But now, let us have some reality check. Let us check ourselves. How are you as a person? How are you emotionally? How are you spiritually? It is very important to ask yourself, how am I doing today? As a person, is it still me? Or I've changed because of the reality where I am right now? Emotionally, am I stable? What are the deeper feelings that I have? What are my unexposed, unprocessed emotions? And spiritually, having been staying home for quite long time, almost 6 months, how is your spiritual life? How is your relationship with God? This talk will be based on our true reality right now. We have to get things right and straight before we go and talk about God and His presence in these troubling times. You know, dear Carolinians, we always begin with ourselves. We always begin with ourselves. When things are clear, that's where we try to look out for others. So when we talk about how am I as a person, this is just like putting yourself in front of a big mirror called honesty. How are you feeling really? Maybe you can say, yes, I'm fine. But you find yourself denying that I am fine. How am I relationship? How am I relating to others? How am I relating to myself? And how am I relating to God? So let's get into the context of our reality. Context of our reality nowadays, of course, basically is quarantine. 24/7 staying home. Some can still go out. Yeah. 6 months and counting of quarantine. These are realities that we have to accept. That's the way it is. Staying home means safety. So staying home with family. How is your family? When you relate with your father, your mother, your siblings, or those who are living with you, your grandpa and grandma, your auntie, your uncle, Some of you are living with your family, some of you are living with your relatives, some of you are living alone. So that's the reality check that we have to focus on. The context of a quarantine. Context of a quarantine first is with your family. You stay home with your family for 6 months. Wow. Like before you used to complain, Mama doesn't have time for me, Papa doesn't have time for me, my siblings are busy. And now you find yourself staying in the same home, stuck together for 6 good months and counting. That's something that should make us think deeper. How is my relationship with my family right now? Are we getting closer, talking open enough, resolving our own issues? What if until now you still have unresolved issues with your parents, with your siblings? Meanwhile, you stayed together for 6 months in quarantine and you didn't have a choice but to stay. If the people around you, if your family members love you, you are blessed. But if your family members don't love you that much, then you are in trouble. So that's the first issue here. How are you handling the quarantine with your family? Has it improved your family? Or are things getting out of hands? These are questions we should ask ourselves. Secondly, with relatives. You stay for 6 months with relatives. It's quite disturbing. It's quite disturbing as a person. But still, the question remains the same. How are you relating with them? Are your relationships improving? You get to know one another better. You get to spend almost the whole day together. You have nowhere to go but the same house. That's a reality that we have to face. And thirdly, and this is one of the most challenging things of COVID, being quarantined alone or staying home alone. It's a kind of real trouble and big deal indeed. Because anyway, when we're stuck alone for a period of time, there is something that is being taken away from us, and that is the social dimension of the human person. The human touch, relationship is taken away from us. And we're just alone, facing the COVID, staying home. It is very critical to know how are you holding up. It's very critical to know how at home are you with yourself when you are alone. And of course, with all the worries, with all the thoughts, what will happen to me if I get COVID? I'm alone here. Yes, you have got contacts on your cell phone, Facebook, social media, but you are physically alone. That might have some effect on you as a person. So my dear Carolinians, that's the reality in context. So far, how do you evaluate the COVID quarantine staying home? There are some things, we call them quarantine feels. I just got it from a friend of mine. She calls them quarantine feels. And what are those things? Online and virtual? New normal? When will this end? When we talk about online and virtual, of course, just like what we're doing, This is online workshop or online talk or sharing. Even your study, everything is done online. Virtual classroom, virtual meeting, online exam, online quiz. Even love life is now online and virtual because we cannot see each other anymore. That is the quarantine feels that uh, has made us differently approaching day-to-day life, daily routine. Even now everything is Shopee, Lazada, online buying. Mostly everything is done online. Delivery is by cell phone now. So when we talk about online and virtual, there is an empty space that has been thrown to us and we are engulfed by it. Yes, we see people, we have VC, we talk, we chat, but at the end of the day, it's all virtual, it's all online. Now, Facebook, social media, they're very alive because people have nothing to do anymore. And most of us are just trying to fit into that reality of online and virtual. Let us look at the new normal. New normal is not yet here, but some things have become normal already now. For example, wearing face masks, face shield, alcohol. When you go out, you have to bring quarantine pass. And when you come home, you have to disinfect yourself, take a bath again, use alcohol. These are new things to us. And these are going to be normal now. Imagine even me, I say mass with mask. And my voice is not that clear with mask. Once I go out, I always have alcohol with me. After touching anything, oh, alcohol. Before touching my face, alcohol. Before eating, alcohol. That's the reality that we have to get used to. New normal, distance between persons, everywhere you go. The biggest warning sign is keep social distancing or keep physical distancing. Even in churches, the marketplaces, in offices, public transportation. It is just like we are asked to stay away from each other by a certain distance. But that's COVID. It's for our own protection. And we have to accept it that way. Well, these are things, I've been in the Philippines for almost 10 years now. So I know how close Filipinos are. The way they touch one another, they will talk to each other, hugging, holding hands, touching. That's part of our culture here. But now, those things are forbidden. No touching, no hugging, distancing. COVID brought that to us. And this pandemic has changed so many things that we don't want to change. So my dear friends, my dear Carolinians, accepting our reality, our condition, is a stepping stone to overcoming it, to solving it. Accepting the new normal It's not like, well, we are just forced to. No, we have to embrace it and make it our own if we want to grow as persons. Because it is here, and we really have to deal with it, to see clearly through it, so that we can be productive again. We can do so many things again. We can flourish again. We can be successful again. We can study well again. Because no matter what happens or in what situation we are, we Carolinians always find a way to accept the situation if we cannot change it and use it to our own advantage. Yes. And the biggest question ever, when will this end? Well, honestly, I don't know. I don't have the answer. Even vaccine is no longer, not yet on site. Many people are trying, but they keep on failing and failing and failing. Excuse me. So, when will this end? I think this is not a question that we should ask ourselves that often. What we should say is, how can I do my best as Carolinian to be productive, to excel in my studies, in my work, even things are no longer normal. In online and virtual things, how capable am I to continue my life as a student and to excel in what I do, so that these things won't be obstacles to us, but stepping stones going to our goal. No matter what, no matter how quarantine makes you feel, pause and think that this is never an obstacle. This is just another stepping stone to reach my goals. And believe me, the moment you realize that actually you can perform well online and virtually during this new normal, you can perform well, you can still succeed and be successful, that's the beginning of your own transformation. That's the beginning of your victory. That's the beginning of true spirit of Carolinians in any given situation. Well, I've experienced myself so many and disturbing things during quarantine. And people have been asking for help, counseling, just listening, or more like sharing. This is self-awareness. Self-awareness. During a pandemic or quarantine, so many emotions, mostly negative, surfaced, which is a little bit disturbing to us all. Like, number one is stress. Sometimes you are stressed without doing anything. For parents, stress because they have to take care of their kids daily. They have to provide for their family. For students or for young people, being quarantined 24/7 at home is nothing we're used to. Stress. When you start thinking about, oh my gosh, I won't see my classmates. We cannot go to the beach. We cannot unwind. We cannot go for joyride. We cannot go to SM. We're stressed. And everything becomes heavy. Everything becomes disturbing. And even you yourself begin to lose patience with yourself. Yeah, stress, that's normal for everybody to feel that thing. But I don't think it is a reason for us to give COVID the upper ground. We are and we should be in control of our own emotions and feelings. Do not let stress wear you out. Because the moment you allow stress to take over, that's the time when you say, "Ah, I will not mind anymore. Let it be." Another thing that especially young people could experience during quarantine, and it's often shared by my friends, is boredom. Oh, Father, I'm so bored. What are you doing? Movie marathon? Netflix? Oh, Netflix. Movie marathon. Oh, watching NBA live. Oh, well, everybody is now watching NBA from home, so there is equality. You know, in US, the Philippines, in Europe, in Africa, when you watch NBA live, you watch it from home. So there is a little equality right there. Boredom is something disturbing sometimes. You know, when you are just like you don't feel to do anything anymore. You're bored. You just want, okay, it's one of the lazy quarantine days again. You tend to just let the day pass by without doing anything. And if you do something, you don't feel it. Wow. You do something, you don't feel it anymore. Okay, another very disturbing happening during quarantine is people are experiencing depression. And it's not that easy to deal with this kind of feeling or happening as a person because you are already staying home for 6 months and you feel like useless. You cannot achieve your goals. You are good for nothing. And even the things you are good at, you've forgotten about them and you start feeling the depression. You start feeling that you are not needed in the world. But believe me, it is in the most hopeless times that hope becomes relevant. It is in the darkest night that we can see the ray of light, the farthest. So, my dear Carolinians, some of you might have experienced this, and some of you might have thought of even committing suicide. Because of depression, you cannot take it anymore. But for people who have experienced such disturbing experience, when we see the little glimpse of hope and we hold on to that this too will pass, we can survive. No, it all depends on how you look at it. Fourth thing that is also coming up outside the quarantine is addiction. Yeah, there are so many kinds of addictions. Some will be addicted to their cell phone forever, social media, addicted to watching porn movies, addicted to, let's say, smoking, drinking, because of all the things that I mentioned about stress, boredom, depression. And we tend to channel those things to things that we can do easily. Some are even addicted to sleeping. That is life. Quarantine feels. My dear friends, let us not lose who we are, Carolinians. Let us not lose who we are. We are witnesses to the Word. So if you are caught up into an addiction, you have to ask yourself, is this me? How did I get into this? Some would even get addicted to masturbation. You know, those things happen. We shouldn't be shy to name those things. So if you are going to that direction right now, it's not too late to come back. It's never too late. There is always salvation available for you to move back to the right track. Because Carolinians, whether you like it or not, life is not gonna be sweet melody always. There will be times when we will be tried to the maximum power we have. And this is one of those times. Let us not bow our heads down. No, we are going through this right to the finish line with flying colors. Okay, I've been talking about some negative things now. So I would like to talk about something positive. This something positive, I learned it from Seligman. He's a positive psychologist. He has what we call models of positive attitude, flourishing, and well-being. He calls it PERMA. PERMA. The PERMA model is a widely recognized and influential model in positive psychology. This helps us to explain and define well-being, especially in times of pandemic. This is very, very important. PERMA is actually an acronym for the 5 facets of well-being according to Seligman. P stands for positive emotions. E stands for engagement. R stands for relationship, positive relationship. And M stands for meaning. And A, accomplishment or achievement. So, maybe I could give you a little bit of elaboration on that PERMA of Seligman. First, let's talk about positive emotions. Yeah, the worst thing that could happen to a person is when he or she focuses on what's negative only. Feeling stress, feeling no freedom, just staying home, uselessness. No, we have positive emotions, joy, happiness, excitement. We have those things around us. And when you experience positive emotions and you work on them, your life becomes brighter, better, and more meaningful. If you want to be successful, even in hard situation, hold on to positive emotions. Positive emotions. And enjoyment. Put some joy in what you do. That's it. Put some excitement. Even if you don't like online study, be eager. Be eager. Number 2 is E, engagement. As I said, when boredom strikes us, we are stuck somewhere down the road. We do things without meaning. Engagement is like you are right there, present and aware in what you do. We become completely absorbed in something we enjoy and excel at. What if we really engage ourselves in studying? We engage ourselves in reading the Bible or praying as a family. We engage ourselves in what we have right now in the present. That is a key to success. You can do anything if you are physically, mentally, emotionally present while doing something. That is E. And R, positive relationships. Dear Carolinians, toxic environment is always the source of depression, suicide, or name negative things. When relationships are no longer healthy, things start to fall apart. And believe me, when our relationships are good, because we are social creatures, we rely on the connections with others to truly flourish, we will really find who we are. Healthy relationships. People nowadays, they don't talk anymore. Imagine you stay at home for 6 months with your parents. You have not talked about anything substantial to improve your relationship. I think this is the time to heal the broken relationships. We take care of our own. If you cannot relate well to people around you, how well would you think you will relate with God? Good question. Meaning, to find the meaning of life is something we all want, right? And life almost has lost its meaning because of COVID. When we dedicate ourselves to a cause or recognize something bigger than ourselves, we experience a sense of meaning that there is simply no replacement for it. So, my dear Carolinians, we have not lost the meaning of our lives. No, the meaning is there. Witness to the word. How to do that? Scientia Virtus Devotio. That's how we do things in USC as Carolinians. The meaning of what we do, the meaning of what we say, the meaning of what we think, all those little meanings, when they collide into one, they make the true meaning of who you are, what you are. Okay, last A is accomplishment or achievement. Yeah, people might think that during quarantine or COVID time, we are less productive. Well, maybe, that's true. It's less productive. But when we really thrive in doing something, engage ourselves, build on positive emotions, we will achieve and succeed. We will accomplish more authentically. My dear Carolinians, as I said in the beginning, this situation is just a stepping stone. This should not be an obstacle for us not to accept, to achieve, to accomplish things, and to flourish. So when we talk about the PERMA, positive emotions, engagement, positive relationship, meaning, and accomplishment or achievement, analyze your day, evaluate your day, your performances on that level, and you will see. Okay. And now I am going to show you a video. The video is about bedtime story. I think you've seen this video already. Bedtime story, yeah. Then the title is The Great Realization. It's very meaningful. I want you to ponder on every word. And then I will be giving you the conclusion, which is more spiritual this time, after the video. Stay right there. Stay tuned.
Tell me the one about the virus again, then I'll go to bed.
But my boy, you're growing weary, sleepy thoughts about your head.
Please, that one's my favourite. I promise just once more.
Okay, snuggle down, my boy, though I know you know full well The story starts before then, in a world I once would dwell. It was a world of waste and wonder, of poverty and plenty, back before we understood why hindsight's 2020. You see, the people came up with companies to trade across all lands, but they swelled and got much bigger than we ever could have planned. We'd always had our wants, but now it got so quick. You could have anything you dreamed of in a day, and with a click. We noticed families had stopped talking. That's not to say they never spoke, but the meaning must have melted, and the work-life balance broke. And the children's eyes grew squarer, and every toddler had a phone. They filtered out the imperfections, but amidst the noise, they felt alone. And every day the skies grew thicker, till you couldn't see the stars. So we flew in planes to find them, while down below, we filled our cars. We'd drive around all day in circles. We'd forgotten how to run. We swapped the grass for tarmac, shrunk the parks till there were none. We filled the sea with plastic, because our waste was never capped, until each day when you went fishing you'd pull them out, already wrapped. And while we drank and smoked and gambled, our leaders taught us why. It's best to not upset the lobbies. More convenient to die. But then in 2020, a new virus came our way. The governments reacted and told us all to hide away. But while we all were hidden, amidst the fear and all the while, the people dusted off their instincts. They remembered how to smile. They started clapping to say thank you, and calling up their mums, and while the car keys gathered dust, they would look forward to their runs. And with the skies less full of voyagers, the earth began to breathe, and the beaches bore new wildlife that scuttled off into the seas. Some people started dancing, some were singing, some were baking. We'd grown so used to bad news, but some good news was in the making. And so when we found the cure, and were allowed to go outside, we all preferred the world we found to the one we'd left behind. Old habits became extinct, and they made way for the new, and every simple act of kindness was now given its due.
But why did it take a virus to bring the people back together?
Well, sometimes you've got to get sick, my boy, before you start feeling better. Now lie down and dream of tomorrow, and all the things that we can do. And who knows, if you dream hard enough, maybe some of them will come true. We now call it the Great Realization. And yes, since then there have been many. But that's the story of how it started, and why hindsight's 2020.
Okay, after watching that video, I would like you to see that there is always hope, no matter what. And the title of my sharing is God or Nothing. So let's talk a little bit about spirituality during times of COVID right now. Witness to the Word in times of COVID. You know, when we look at this time as from the eyes of the Bible, or in the life story of Jesus, there is a very beautiful symbolism for our journey now, COVID journey or quarantine journey, and that is called the way of the cross. You know, when Jesus was baptized, the Father said a very beautiful phrase, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am pleased. Listen to him." And he said, beloved Son, his own Son. And here comes the time for him to suffer. And where is the loving Father? You know, do you think that during the way of the cross or the suffering of Jesus, the Father was not loving him? The Father loves him always. But he was just watching Jesus going through that pain. Is God insensitive? Or he doesn't care? No. That's not the way things are. Without the way of the cross, our salvation will be incomplete. That is the way how much God wants to save us. He loved us, enduring the pain, looking at his son being crucified, tortured, suffering, because he loves us. So my dear friends, in the life of Jesus as the pure form of discipleship, he went through that way of the cross to Calvary. And I tell you, it wasn't an easy one. It was a painful one, anguishing one, torture over torture over torture. He endured that, and God the Father was looking. Well, that's him, the silent Father. So, when we look at Jesus carrying the cross, we said, oh my gosh, this guy is gonna die. He's gonna suffer. He's gonna be crucified. And everything will end there. That was the thinking or thoughts of people around Jesus. But even his disciples, they ran away. Except 2 or 3 only with the women and Mama Mary. From that despair was born something different. And it is called hope, the resurrection. Sometimes our minds cannot grasp the mind of God, the plan of God. Sometimes we fail to see him guiding every step of our journey. We miss that. And thus we tend to blame him. Why is God allowing COVID to happen? Why are many people dead of COVID? Why so many sufferings? Why is this happening if God loves us? Well, God loves Jesus when he was carrying the cross, and he allowed it to happen in order for the hope of the resurrection to take place. And I think that is the theology of the cross. That's the theology of the cross. And that is also theology of what we're going through right now. Maybe COVID is teaching us to go deeper and look inside us. What are the things you need to overcome for you to see hope, to be closer to God? My dear friends, it's very easy to point fingers at God, when things are wayward. But I tell you, even if you point finger at him, he would still embrace you and say, I love you. The cross is always the best symbol of discipleship, because everything flows from there. My dear friends, I would love to say a very beautiful statement. God is our refuge. When you look at people dying now in Europe and in the US, so many people are dying because of COVID. Many, millions already. And even here in the Philippines, all over the world. It means life is really short and earthly life ends. So what is the key? To have God to hold us from above. I'll tell you, he is our refuge. I once watched Father Jerry Orbos on TV, and they gave a very beautiful analogy of handkerchief. He did like this. He said, this handkerchief will stand and stay like this. Oh, he didn't, sorry. It will stand. Oh, again. Sorry again. You know, God is our refuge. Now it's standing. Right? Now it's standing. And it's standing because somebody from on top is holding. And that's God. He is our refuge. Crisper, your battery is low.
Low na ang battery.
That red thing?
Okay pa na, Father? Until mamatay.
Okay, sige, sige.
Sige.
Patayan lang nago.
Patay lang, yun.
Okay, okay.
Sige. Hanggang mamatay, Father, ang battery. Di man na siya pwede i-charge. Tanggalan mo ng battery.
Okay, okay. Okay. And that is the analogy of the handkerchief standing while somebody on top is holding. And that's God holding us. So, dear friends, allow God to take care of us. Allow God to hold us. Allow Him to keep us. Let us look in how to nurture our spiritual well-being without. Now online masses are everywhere, live on Facebook, live from cathedral, even from Rome and from America. It is all over. But what matters the most is what you have right where you are. Your family, is your family a prayerful family? When was the last time you prayed together as a family during quarantine? So, if your family is not a prayerful one, a Carolinian makes the difference, or a Carolinian can be the difference. So, my dear Carolinians, nurturing our spiritual well-being, it doesn't take miracles. No. It takes just an initiative to be a leader and witness to the word where you are. My dear friends, that's like your family doesn't pray, fine. Start reading the Bible. Start praying the rosary. Sometimes also, there are more beautiful prayers. Say novenas. And make sure that they hear you. Make sure they see you. And you become the light of that family or that place where you are. Sometimes we tend to think that prayers are not needed for discipleship. No. Prayers are very important. Especially you pray silently. Have you tried to pray without saying anything but keeping quiet? And just telling God to talk to you? Or just saying, "Come, Holy Spirit, Veni Sancte Spiritus." Just like that. When you're calm from within, you see things clearly. When it comes from within, you see things clearly. And my dear Carolinians, it is in that silence of you and God that you're being met with His. The divinity embraces humanity in that silent time that you spend with God. And there you begin to see things clearly. Okay, that's nurturing. Reading the Bible, praying the rosary, giving yourself silent time to be with God. Very beautiful. Very beautiful. God is our refuge. And lastly, everything is spiritual for you to be witness to the word. In quarantine, things are available. Most of you have Wi-Fi at home. It's right there. Why don't we try to have the spiritual touches in everything we do? On our cell phones, there are so many religious apps. There are rosary apps. the beautiful quotes, the Bible words, you know. And for example, a Carolinian early in the morning would wake up and put on a beautiful religious song. Wow. That will make the entire family feel the presence of God. A Carolinian would put a candle on the statue of Mary or on the altar of the family. That is a symbol of spiritual touch. Instead of listening to R&B, pop music, dancing TikTok, or whatever, or vlogging, you spend some of your time listening to audio rosary, Bible reading, religious songs. They really help. There's so many beautiful, inspiring quotations from the Bible on YouTube. You know how to use social media better than I do. But if you see and put spiritual touches in everything you do, I tell you, quarantine will be the most transformative experience of your life. Sometimes we just say, just forget about it. Oh, we will go back to the normal way. We go to church once a week. No, but COVID happened for a reason, or COVID is happening for a reason. And I think it is like, stay home, stay away from the world, be close to yourself, be close to your family, be close to your God. What if that's the plan? What if that's what God wants you right now to do? To make most of your quarantine, to be a more spiritual person. My dear Carolinians, in any event of our life, we always have the duty and responsibility to see God's hand at work, for His hands to guide us, to see God's Spirit, how it is enlightening us. Yeah, it is very easy to just say, bahala na yun. Kung unsay na mahitabo, okay ra. We say, que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. That's not the Carolinian spirit. We make the best out of things that we have. Do not lose hope. Do not say, this will be the end of everything. I tell you, no. This is just a one page of a big book that is called Life and Human History. My dear friends, as I end my sharing with you, I thank you for listening to me. I thank you for your attention. And of course, right after this, there will be a little pause. Then we will go to the question and answer part of it. So I hope you have questions or some things that you would like to talk about. You can just message it or write it in the comment, or you can just voice it out and we will try to address it. Or also, if you want to contribute something, to share your experience during COVID quarantine, you are also welcome. Okay, this is your chaplain, Father D, SVD, signing out. Thank you. See you later.